A very warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for joining our Homeopathy 24/7 podcast. We are going to be speaking to an array of international guests who will share their knowledge and experiences of homeopathy with you. We will discuss all types of subjects such as remedies, symptoms, and stories of health. No matter where you are with your homeopathic journey, we aim to inspire you on your quest to natural health and living. The podcast is brought to you by Mary Greensmith, the founder of Homeopathy 24/7, which is a global platform connecting you with a homeopath wherever you are in the world, 24 hours a day. So let's get started with today's chat. Please welcome Mary Greensmith.
Hello, lovely to see you. I'm so pleased to be able to welcome Alexandra Melo and Kirsty Richards. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Here.
Aren't we lucky being homeopaths in this day and age? I just feel so lucky that we can talk to each other about homeopathy.
It's really wonderful to have found the team and the place where we can brainstorm, share ideas, and feel supported, basically.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the past, I've found it can be quite an isolating profession because you're sort of very much on your own. But having the internet and this lovely network, we can all work together and bounce ideas around and support each other, and that's crucial in this day and age, I think.
Isn't it? It's so funny how it has actually changed how we've been able to practice. But Kirsty, you live on an island off New Zealand as well, so right out at the edge of the world. Tell me about living on an island as a homeopath.
Well, it's interesting, actually. There's only 8,000 people, or 8,000 permanent residents here. And in summertime, that usually swells, maybe triples in size. But homeopathy, it's kind of accepted here, but it's also a little bit under the radar because back in the day, where I am on Waiheke, it used to be known as kind of a hippie island. And then that's kind of changed. The dynamics changed a little bit. So homeopathy is accepted, but it's definitely not mainstream. But with the beauty of the internet, it's just opened up a whole new world because homeopathy is so loved, in other countries around the world. So it's a wonderful opportunity.
Tell me, what's it like in New Zealand mainland itself? Is homeopathy used by many people?
It is. Well, I would say maybe 10% of the population, I guess. It's not as widely used as, say, acupuncture or osteopathy. A lot of people still don't really understand what homeopathy is. It's, they get it mixed up with essential oils or naturopathy. And I think that's such an important thing is educating people about what homeopathy is and what it can do.
And so then people living on an island, because of course 8,000 people isn't, I'm just trying to relate that to the town where I live, and it's effectively one small town, isn't it? 8,000 people, very small town probably. So do people live on the island because they are quite self-sufficient, because they like being away from the rest of the world? Are they into growing vegetables and looking after themselves?
It's quite interesting, actually, because we're only half an hour away from Auckland City, which is the biggest city in New Zealand. So Waiheke is almost like a little suburb. So it's kind of getting a little bit more elite now than what it used to be. So a lot of people live on the island but commute to Auckland City for work because it's only a half-hour commute, which would often take you longer than that on the motorway. So you do get a lot of people who work in the city. There is quite a lot of employment here. There's lots of vineyards and things like that, lots of hospitality sort of jobs. And we have supermarkets and pharmacies, and everything that you need is here. But it's a very short ferry ride to the mainland if you want to go to the city or get a shopping fix.
Oh, okay. It's just really interesting finding out about this, isn't it? So actually, me being in Falmouth at the end of Cornwall in the UK, where it's a 7-hour trip, to go to London, is probably more remote than you are on the island. Very interesting. But Alex, you have experience of homeopathy in 3 places, don't you?
Yes, I live in London and I trained in this country, so I know well homeopathy in the UK, and I lived in Greece for 15 years. And so I have experience there, and I am Portuguese, so regularly I go to Portugal. So yes, I am a bit of an international case, I would say.
You are indeed. Alex, tell me, how is homeopathy different in each of those 3 areas?
Yes, quite so. In England, it's widespread, quite accepted. And I think the fact that the royal family, the Queen, and King Charles have been really advocating homeopathy and using homeopathy for many, many years. It created a bigger acceptance on the population. And we have a lot of schools, and this is the hub of Europe in homeopathy. There are a lot of seminars before COVID. Big names in homeopathy from all around the world congregate in London at some point for seminars as well. So yes, I think it's quite well established. In Greece, there is an awareness about homeopathy because George Vidulkas helped to spread the word quite a lot. But I think the mentality is much more closed in a way, or much more conservative. So people either accept it or completely reject it, and even view it as a witchcraft, something completely out of the mainstream. There are some areas where you cannot even talk about it. In Portugal, it's starting to grow. We only have 1 school in Lisbon, which is a shame because Porto is a big city and could give big support. We do have pharmacies, but a bit limited. If you ask for instance, it's a shame that a big pharmacy does not do tissue salts. And there are some quite, common remedies, at least for us now with COVID, that they don't produce. So it's quite complicated to get the remedies. It's quite complicated to find practitioners. And because there's only 1 school, I think that it's not. And so it's a question more of bringing awareness, which hopefully with time, and there are a few projects. Legally, in Portugal, homeopathy is recognized as medicine, and it's totally legalized and looks wonderful on the paper, but in practice, it's not the same thing. So we just need to start bringing awareness to the public. I think that's it.
It's funny, isn't it?
Internet, it's great, to do that or to help with that. Social media, it's a big thing.
Yeah. So it's really interesting how it is in each country around the world, or how it isn't effectively. But let's get a little bit closer to home, because I have great trouble talking about homeopathy with friends and family, because my family are all nurses and doctors. And, homeopathy is an absolute no-no, and it's not a subject that I can discuss with family. How is it for you, Alex? Can you talk about homeopathy with your friends and family, the people around you?
Yes. Well, I'm very lucky because my parents are treated by me, and my kids, since they were born, they were and are into homeopathy. The animals are treated, and some friends do talk about homeopathy quite a lot. Others, they are into Western medicine, traditional medicine, and they don't want to talk about it. And so we discussed any other issue except, homeopathy, and that's fine as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I find that since having a group of people around the world to talk about homeopathy, it certainly has changed things for me. What's it like for you, Kirsty?
Well, I'm quite lucky too, because my family and friends are pretty open to it. My children as well have been raised on homeopathy since birth, so that's all they know, and they can self-prescribe some basic remedies too, which is wonderful. And my family's pretty open to it. I mean, most of them have had remedies from me over the years, and for their pets as well. And I've got friends who know about it a little bit, or they can be a bit confused about homeopathy and naturopathy, and other friends are sort of very much into the medical model. But I don't feel that it's something I can't talk about, which is really good.
That's brilliant to hear. I'm very jealous. I'm also very jealous that you knew about homeopathy to bring your kids up with. So I'm feeling very left out here. But let's just talk about what has happened then since joining a group, since being together with other homeopaths, and also allowing homeopathic users and self-prescribers to actually join a group and find other people to talk to about it. How do you think it is for them, Kirsty?
Oh, well, I think it's wonderful, and it's certainly been a huge learning curve for me, because I'm learning from my colleagues, but I'm also learning from these people who join the groups, because their knowledge is just amazing. They've got far more knowledge about homeopathy than what I had before I became a homeopath, or before I did my training. And they're very knowledgeable, and I think it's wonderful because they're really helping to spread the word of homeopathy and keeping it alive. So these groups are so important, and and they support each other as well, which is lovely to see.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Just learning as well about the places that people live around the world, and how it's accepted for them, and how they have groups that they can go and talk about homeopathy with between themselves as well. So it has really just opened up the whole picture for us even, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it really has. And again, having the internet, and it's just, it certainly opened up my practice as well, because, living on a small island, there's actually 2 other homeopaths here as well. And it would, it's just impossible to try and make a living out of, such a small community, but with a worldwide audience, and so many people who are into homeopathy worldwide, and interacting with these groups and sharing that knowledge and education. It's really wonderful, and so empowering for me as a homeopath to see. And it's certainly inspired more enthusiasm for me for homeopathy as well.
That's really important, isn't it? Alex, what are you finding about talking with and communicating with people around the world?
Oh, I think for me, it was wonderful, because within this profession, we have a lot of responsibility, and sometimes we deal with quite extreme situations. And it's fantastic if you are isolated, because, as you said at the beginning of the interview, that this profession, we work alone. And one thing is, if we would work in a hospital and we would have a team and colleagues that we could discuss cases, it's a completely different energy, and you would feel much more comfortable. And the stress levels as well, would reduce a lot. Now, working alone, it can be very, very isolating. And it is a profession that is demanding because you need to study and you need to evaluate. And if the patient is not getting better, of course, we have a certain level of empathy. And having a team that you can discuss and can approach the case from different views, it's fantastic. I mean, I had a wide experience with that because when I did, my master's and my PhD, we always worked as a team. If I was in microbiology, the team from chemistry would come and say, have you looked at the pH of the media if I was having problems with certain microbes in certain circumstances? So there is a much wider approach to problems. And when you are alone, you tend to run into circles, and then you just get so engrossed in the problem that it's easy to miss the bigger picture. So having a team of qualified professionals where you can trust and talk about, oh my God, that in itself is such a wonderful thing. And of course, you end up making friends and you can discuss many other things, not only cases and your remedies. And as Kristen said, it's a learning curve and makes a whole world of a difference,
Yeah.
And of course, you have the added bonus as well of being exposed to the world and getting more patients and not working just in your area if it wasn't, if before COVID or before joining homeopathy 24/7.
Yes. Yeah. I just love not having a local practice so much now. I love being able to go out, and although just recently I have been stopped on all of my dog walks by people saying, "Oh, are you the homeopath? Can you come and help my sheep?" But it's so nice not having to think about, okay, I really need to talk about homeopathy with somebody, but I haven't got enough people to talk to, because we have this opportunity to talk to each other all of the time. And we've built some brilliant groups, haven't we? Brilliant groups for people who are just using homeopathy. They can go and talk to people who are interested in the same thing. How do you think it might be for them joining our homeopathy for teeth and homeopathy for women groups that we've got now? Kirsty, do you have conversations with your group members about these things?
Yeah, so one of the groups that I've got is the Homeopathy for Pregnancy group, and that's just absolutely taken off. And a lot of the feedback from the members on that group is that they're so grateful to have that group, because a lot of them are completely starting from scratch. So they're learning, and pregnancy is such a wonderful time to start using homeopathy. That's how I got into it myself. So, but we do get lots of good feedback that they're learning things, that they're finding it helpful. And, just from little simple acute things that come up from time to time, and they can get some advice or, want to have a consultation if they need it. But I don't know any other profession in the world that has that kind of service that we offer to people, and we're giving that time, and we're enjoying, we love doing it, and we're learning, they're learning, and it's just a beautiful relationship. But yeah, it's wonderful because we can talk about homeopathy all day, every day if we wish to.
And it just means that they've got somewhere to go, to people that understand and listen, doesn't it? I know that, I have a few clients that say, it's so lovely having you. In fact, you're the only person I can talk about. I've got a couple of people who are being treated for cancer, but they're not being treated in the normal Western method, they're choosing other natural methods, and they can't even tell their family what they're doing. So just that opportunity to talk is so huge, isn't it? Especially when life is difficult. It's at a difficult crossroads for you.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing about homeopathy, which I often say is some of the most healing aspect in itself, is that people actually get to sit and talk, for an hour and a half and actually be really listened to. And again, unless they're going to see a counsellor or a therapist, I don't know any other profession where you actually really get that time, and we're non-judgmental. I mean, I don't think there's anything that would shock me, and I think most homeopaths are the same. And we're just there for that person, and to really listen and empathize and be with them, and work with them to get well. And it's quite a beautiful thing.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Alex, you've got quite a few groups. You've got animal groups, you've got eczema groups. Tell us a little bit about the sort of people that you're talking to and the benefits that they have of joining a group so that they can talk with other people.
Well, I think the main thing is that what Kirsten just said and mentioned is that finally they have someone that listens to their problems and just does not dismiss with take an anti-inflammatory or take an antibiotic in 2 minutes. And it's everybody's very grateful. Every time we post something, either a case or a remedy, or a story that we had, people always say, thank you for sharing. They're very, very grateful. They always post photos in the animal groups. It's fantastic because we have chicken and we have sheep and we have goats and we have dogs and we have cats and we have horses. We have everything. And people come with photos, and it's really nice to see the evolution, and you see the animal sick before, and then you see the animal after just being listened to and just some advice. And you end up building relationships, and you feel that you have a big community around the world. And in case, because obviously, we cannot spend all day on the groups, and we have our patients and we have to study, etc. Other members will help each other quite a lot. And as Kirsten said, it's quite unbelievable the amount of knowledge that people that have been using homeopathy for a long time, although they are not qualified for acute situations, trivial, acute situations, it's really, they most of the times they hit it correctly. So it's a kind of remedy, it's a kind of medicine that you cannot do harm if you do not go into high potencies and if you do not repeat the remedy, for 6, 7 times or 10 times, or some people do it for a week without knowing what they're doing. But otherwise, harm cannot do to take a few doses and see if it helps. So it's fantastic. And the fact that they are listened to, it's very, very important, because even in practice where people are paying, and as Kirsten said, the appointment usually lasts 1.5 hours, especially if it is a first consultation. I had cases where people came, did the consultation, and at the end, when I was ready to send the prescription, they said, oh, I don't need the prescription. It was so fantastic. And you made me aware of so many things and look at my body in a way that I never thought about it, that actually the problem is gone. I don't need the remedy anymore. So it's that important,
Brilliant, brilliant. It actually is, isn't it? Just having that opportunity to look at things a different way, to discuss things, to consider things, and then to reevaluate. And I keep saying that homeopathy is not just a medicine, is it? It's a way of life. It's every aspect of your life. It's all-encompassing. Brilliant to have you here talking today. It's been lovely to be able to do this with you. Thank you so much for coming in today. And I do hope that we can do this again.
It's fantastic. I would like very much to.
Thank you, Mary.
I hope you have found that useful. Thank you so much, Alex and Kirsty. That has been wonderful talking to you today. Now, next week, we will be talking to Sunita Venchard. Sunita is a homeopath and an author, and she has the most amazing book that you really need to know about. It's a fiction book about homeopathy. So let's see how that comes together. I know that's going to be really useful for you. Speak to you then.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode and look forward to listening to our next one. Please don't forget to follow our podcast on your chosen channel, and please do leave us a review so we can continue to share homeopathy with as many people as possible. If you do have any questions, please do reach out to us on any of our social platforms mentioned in the show notes. We at Homeopathy 24/7 hope to empower you on your natural health journey.